I never wanted to live in that house. It came to me after Aunt Clara passed, some legal loophole in the will. She never had children. I barely knew her. A few scattered memories from childhood, mostly about how we weren't allowed to touch anything when we visited. My mother once said Clara was different, and that was the last anyone spoke of her until she died. The house sat alone on a wooded hill, quote, too far from town to feel comforting. It was old pre-World War II and, looked it, ivy covered half. The brick, the windows sagged. The porch creaked with every footstep like it remembered who belonged and who didn't. But it was mine now, and I needed somewhere to go. I arrived on a gray Thursday, dragging a few suitcases and a duffel bag up the porch. The inside smelled like mothballs and something faintly metallic. I could tell no one had lived there in years. The furniture was covered in white sheets like the ghosts hadn't made up their minds yet. Every corner echoed when I moved. It felt empty in a loud kind of way. It was when I turned the corner into the hallway that I saw it. The painting, it was massive. At least 5 feet tall and hung in the narrow hallway leading to the kitchen. I must have walked past it as a kid, but I had no memory of it. The frame was carved wood, dark and heavy, the kind you'd see in a museum. But it wasn't the frame that stopped me. It was the figure inside. At first glance, it looked like any old oil portrait. A forest painted in deep greens and murky browns, fog laced between the trees. And standing dead center was a hooded figure in black. Head slightly bowed, hands clasped in front, something about the pose felt staged. Like whoever painted it wanted it to look peaceful, but failed. It was wrong in the way a crooked smile is wrong, not quite human, not quite safe. I stared at it for a long time. Maybe too long. Eventually, I shook it off, found a room upstairs that didn't feel too cold, and unpacked. But the painting stuck with me. That night, I dreamed of trees, endless trees, and footsteps just behind me, always out of sight. The next morning, I passed the painting again on the way to the kitchen and froze. The figure's head was turned slightly, not bowed anymore. It was lifted just a little but enough that you could tell it was looking straight out of the painting at me. I blinked, stepped back, and laughed nervously. It had to be my imagination. Light plays tricks. Maybe I hadn't paid attention yesterday. That had to be it. I pulled out my phone and took a picture. Just to be sure, later that day, I looked again. The head was bowed. The photo on my phone showed it looking up for the first time. I started to feel uneasy. I started making a habit of photographing the painting each morning and evening. Each time, something had changed. A branch missing from a tree. The fog thickening. The figure's hands shifting ever so slightly by the fourth day. The figure was standing straighter, taller, its feet had moved. I stopped sleeping well. Every creak of the old house felt louder, closer. My dreams grew darker, always the forest, always the footsteps, always the sense that something was right behind me. One morning, I walked downstairs to find the painting covered. A white sheet hung over it, freshly placed. I hadn't done it. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at the smooth drape of fabric, knowing it would be worse if I looked underneath. I did it anyway, and now, Kay's hand was raised, not in a wave, in a point, right? At me, I stumbled back, dropped my phone. My breath came out in panicked bursts. The hallway suddenly felt narrower, like the walls had shifted in. I grabbed the sheet and covered the painting again, then nailed it in place at the corners. That night, left the hallway light on, but even with the light, I swore I could feel something watching. On the 6th night, the dream. I didn't call anyone. Who would I even call? The police? What would I say? A painting is stalking me. They'd think I was insane. Maybe I was. Maybe isolation in that old house was getting to me. But deep down, I knew what I saw was real. That smile. It was small, restrained, and chilling in its subtlety. Like the figure in the painting knew something I didn't. Like it was waiting. I tried to convince myself it was a hallucination. Stress, sleep deprivation, maybe a leftover. Grief I hadn't processed about Aunt Clara. But that logic didn't hold when the changes kept coming. The next day, the trees in the painting were closer. Tighter, pressed around the figure like a cage. And the sky, which had always been a murky gray, now held the faintest trace of red. Sunset, or maybe fire. I packed my things. I was done. I didn't want the house, the inheritance, the cursed art. I tossed my bag in the car and turned the key. Nothing. The engine clicked, sputtered, died. I tried again. Dead. I grabbed my phone to call for a tow. No service. I stood in the driveway, under the open sky, and screamed. No one answered. That night, I slept in the living room with the fireplace lit, facing away from the hallway. Still, the dreams came. But this time, I wasn't in the forest. I was in the house, my house. But not quite. Everything was dimmer, older. The shadows were longer. The air was heavy. I stood at the end of the hallway and saw the painting. The figure was walking toward me. Its steps were slow but purposeful, arms swaying slightly. Its face was still mine. But the eyes were wrong, empty, reflective, as if they could see through time. When I woke, my legs ached, like I'd been standing too long. And when I pulled the blanket off, I gasped. My feet were dirty, covered in fine dust, like I'd been walking barefoot through the attic. But I hadn't left the couch. That day, I boarded up the hallway. I hammered wooden planks over the entrance, sealed it with furniture, and told myself I could live in the rest of the house. I didn't need that hallway. I didn't need that painting. But the next morning, the boards were gone, not broken, not scattered. Gone, the hallway was wide open, and the painting, it was closer. Now it hung at the far wall of the living room, above the fireplace where the mirror used to be. My stomach turned, my skin went cold. I hadn't moved it. I couldn't have. I called a local pastor, said I needed a house blessing, casually, vaguely, avoiding too many details. He agreed to come the next afternoon, but he never showed. I called again. His number was disconnected. The painting changed again that night. The forest had bled into the frame. The edges were starting to stretch beyond their borders like vines crawling off the canvas. The figure was stepping forward, one leg bent slightly, foot lifted. It was walking out. That night, the house groaned constantly. Creaks like someone pacing the floors. Scraping sounds inside the walls. I tried to sleep in the car, but the doors wouldn't unlock. And in the rearview mirror, I saw the forest behind me. I didn't turn around. Morning came, and so did the smell. A deep, rotting stench, like damp earth and burnt wood. It clung to everything, filled every breath. I opened all the windows. Nothing helped. That was when I started seeing it. The figure, not just in the painting, in reflections. Brief glimpses in glass, on the television screen, in puddles of water. Always at the edge, always watching. It never moved when I looked straight at it. But when I blinked, it would be closer. The painting itself was changing faster now. Every hour, sometimes every few minutes. Sometimes the forest showed fires. Other times it rained blood. The figure had outstretched hands, then clasped fists, then no hands at all. I tried burning it. I doused it in lighter fluid, lit a match, and watched. It didn't catch. The flame died before touching the canvas. I took an axe to it. The blade bounced. The painting laughed, not loudly, not with sound, with its face. My face. It twisted into something grotesque, a grin wide enough to crack its cheeks. Its eyes rolled upward, and the skin around them peeled as if it had been painted on. That night, I didn't dream. I heard whispers, a voice identical to mine. It spoke from the walls, the vents, the fireplace. It begged me to come to the hallway, to stand before the painting, to finish what Aunt Clara started. That's when I knew she didn't leave the house to me out of kindness. She passed it on because she had to, because the house chooses, because the painting needs someone. It fed off her, and now it feeds off me. I looked through the old documents in the basement, found Clara's journals, pages full of frantic notes, sketches of the painting, symbols I didn't understand. One line repeated over and over: "Don't look away. If you look away, it moves." That night, I sat in front of the painting for 12 hours straight. I didn't blink. My eyes burned. My head throbbed, but I didn't move. At sunrise, I didn't sleep. COULDN. Single quotes, T. Every time I blinked, the figure seemed closer. Not just in the painting, but in the room, in the air. I felt it watching, breathing, mimicking. I covered the painting with a blanket. It was gone by morning. The blanket, the painting was still there, and the figure, now crouching, waiting. That day, I left the house. I drove 4 hours, no destination in mind, just distance. But every reflection, store windows, passing cars, even my own sunglasses still showed the figure behind me. And when I stopped at a rest area to wash my face, I glanced into the bathroom mirror. It was no longer my reflection. It was the figure's. Same eyes, same face, but hollow, bloodshot, smiling with teeth that were too sharp. I screamed and smashed the mirror. The shards twitched. One shard pulsed like a heartbeat, glowing faintly red. I left immediately, but as I walked past a vending machine, the glass panel showed the figure again, closer than ever. Back home, I boarded up the living room, tarp-ed the furniture, put salt around every window and door. It didn't help. The painting was now in my bedroom. It had followed me. The forest in the background was gone, now burnt, blackened, smoldering. The sky was ink dark, stars twisted into strange runes. The figure stepped through the canvas, not all the way, not yet. One leg, half its torso, arms raised. I slept in the kitchen with the lights on, clutching a knife. But I dreamt again, in the dream. I stood inside the painting. The trees whispered in a language I didn't know, but somehow understood. The canvas is a door. The body is the key. I woke up with splinters in my feet, like I'd walked across the wooden frame, and there was something painted on the wall in red dot, my name. Over and over, thousands of times. I didn't remember writing it. That morning, the painting bled actual blood. It dripped down the frame, pooled at the base, and formed words. Almost ready. I decided to burn the house down. I soaked the baseboards in gasoline, lit the match. It flared, then vanished. The flame was snuffed out mid-air, and the walls whispered, "Too late." I packed a suitcase. I ran. I stayed in a motel 20 miles out, but the painting was already in the room, waiting. No matter where I went, it followed. I mailed it to a museum, left it on their doorstep with no return address. 2 days later, it reappeared in my kitchen, wet, dripping, grinning. I checked security footage. The painting didn't appear on the camera, but the wall behind it, warped, slowly stretched outward like something was pushing from the other side. I couldn't take it anymore. I covered every reflective surface in my house mirrors. Screens, faucets, even my phone, still in the corner of my eye. I'd see it, leaning out of the canvas closer. Every day, it mimicked more of me, my gestures, my smile, my pain. When I cried, it cried. When I screamed, it smiled wider. Then one night, it whispered. I was in bed, eyes closed, not asleep, and I heard my own voice from the corner. Just look away. I turned on every light. No one was there. But the painting had changed again. Now, it showed two figures, me and the other me, standing side by side. One had a hand on the other's shoulder. In the morning, I found a note under my pillow. One word written in black oil paint: switch. My face is starting to feel numb. My fingers twitch when I'm not moving them. Sometimes I wake up in rooms I didn't fall asleep in. The figure smiles more now, like it knows its time is near. I started losing time. Not the usual forget what you had for breakfast kind. Whole hours gone. Conversations I never had, people telling me we spoke when I know I was alone. Messages on my phone I don't remember writing. Recordings in my voice. But speaking words I never learned. Every time I came back to myself. The painting had changed. Again. The background was now a burning cathedral. Flames curling up impossibly tall spires. Screaming faces in the stained glass windows. The figure wasn't just in front of the fire anymore. It was holding it, carrying flame like it was part of its body, and it was looking straight at me, like it wasn't a painting anymore, like it was a mirror. I started keeping a journal to track the missing hours. Here's an entry I found in my handwriting that I don't remember writing. He's in the canvas. I'm in the skin. He doesn't want to return. He wants me to stay. I locked the painting in the basement, boarded the door shut, moved into a different room. 3 days passed. Silence. No dreams, no whispers. Just emptiness. For a moment, I thought I was free, until I walked past a mirror and saw him again. Behind me, not in the painting, in my house. His reflection only showed up when I wasn't looking directly at him. But every time I blinked, he was closer. First in the hallway, then at the bedroom door, then at the foot of my bed. That night, I woke up with paint on my hands. Thick black oil paint, and the walls of my room were covered in symbols, overlapping circles. Eyes, mouths, clocks melting into themselves. I called an art historian I'd met once at a gallery event. Dr. Evelyn Maynard. She was skeptical until I showed her photos. She went pale, told me the symbols were from a lost 16th century manuscript burned by the church for artistic heresy. Apparently, the painter believed art wasn't just expression, it was a gate. A doorway to a realm where souls could be copied, borrowed, or replaced. She asked to see the painting in person. I said no, she insisted. So I agreed on one condition. She could look at it, but not touch it, not blink, not turn away. She lasted 15 seconds. Then she screamed and collapsed. I rushed her to the hospital. She didn't wake up, but she kept whispering in her sleep. He wears your skin. He wears your skin. I stayed with her overnight, but the reflection in the hospital window, it was the figure wearing her face, smiling when I returned home. The basement was open. The boards were torn off, not broken, peeled, like something inside had pulled them away gently, carefully. I didn't go down. I see OULDN single quotes. Instead, I packed my bags and checked into a hotel across town. No mirrors, no paintings, just blank walls. Still, the dreams returned. I'd see myself walking through the canvas. See? The figure stepping out of it, and always, always, that whisper, you looked away. Now he'll look for you. One morning, I woke up and the painting was in my hotel room, leaning against the wall, still burning, still watching. But this time, he wasn't inside it. He was gone. The canvas was empty, just the cathedral in flames. And On the back, something new had been scrawled in red. "You're in the frame now." I rushed to the mirror. My reflection blinked before I did. Then it tilted its head and smiled. I smashed the mirror. Glass flew everywhere, but I didn't care. I needed proof that I still had control. Blood ran down my arms, my knuckles torn open. But as I looked down, I saw the shard's jagged little windows, and every single one still showed him, not me. That's when I realized I was no longer the one reflected. The figure from the painting, the thing I had stared at for weeks, was now me. Or rather, it had taken my place on this side of the glass. I had somehow become the reflection, and I was trapped. I tested it by waving my hand in front of the mirror shards. In real life, I moved freely. But in every reflection, he moved half a second late. He was pretending to be me. But I was still in there, behind the glass, screaming without sound. Back in the hotel, I paced for hours, trying to understand. The painting wasn't just cursed. It wasn't just a window. It was a deal, an exchange. Someone, somewhere, had created it with the intention of trading places with someone else. A life for a life. A soul for a shell. I started researching the gallery where I'd bought it. Turns out, it had been closed for years. The woman who ran it, an artist named Clara Devane, had vanished after opening night. The only thing left behind, a painting of a burning cathedral. That exact painting. I tracked down one of the original gallery staff, an old man named Elias, who now lived in a care home. When I showed him the picture of the painting, he went silent. Then he whispered, "Clara never painted that." "What do you mean?" "She bought it off a blind man who claimed to see things others couldn't. He called it the substitute." I asked if he knew what happened to Clara. He stared straight at me and said she looked away. I returned to my apartment. Everything smelled like turpentine and old firewood. The painting was no longer in the basement. It was in the living room, hanging neatly above the mantel. But something had changed again. Now it showed me, sitting in a chair, pale, eyes wide, hollow, my mouth stitched shut with red thread. I tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. The handle twisted and melted in my hand. I tried the windows, but they were just more mirrors, now hundreds of them each, one showing a different version of me, and none of them blinking. Then I saw something that broke me. On the desk was a photo of my family, but in it, I was replaced. The figure was sitting with them, smiling like he belonged. My face, his eyes. He had taken everything. I ran to the painting and screamed, "Give it back," and for the first time it answered. A whisper, clear and final. "You saw, you stared. You let me in." I blacked out. When I came to, I was in the chair from the painting, tied, cold. The room was dim, flickering with candlelight. And across from me stood the painting. Now a mirror again. And there, inside it, was the real world. My family, my job, my old life. I screamed, but no sound came out. I pounded my fists against the chair, but no one looked in the mirror. No one saw me. And the longer I watched, the more I understood. He wasn't coming back. He didn't need to, because he was me now. And I was just the thing trapped behind the canvas. The leftover, the reflection, the echo. You might be wondering why. I'm telling you this, why this story exists at all. It's because the painting. It always needs a witness. A viewer, someone to look. That's how it spreads. That's how he finds new vessels. So if you ever see a painting in an antique shop or an online auction of a burning cathedral with a shadowy figure near the flames, whatever you do, don't blink, don't look away, and for God's sake, don't bring it home. Because once you see him, he sees you too. And the next time you check your reflection, you might not be the one looking back. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "end" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.